Hey, it's Rod Yates. Welcome to Mastering Events, an Audience Republic podcast. Each episode, I'll be talking to some of the world's most accomplished event professionals to discover how they got where they are today, the lessons they've learned throughout that journey, and their insights around event marketing and maximizing ticket sales. My guest today is Anthony Diaz, Chief Operating Officer and Partner at Topeka Music Vacations. Anthony's had a long and accomplished career in the music vacations business, having spent more than a decade at Sixthman, which hosts music festivals at sea with events such as the Emo's Not Dead Cruise, the Broadway Cruise, the Kiss Kruise, and many, many more. In January 2024, he joined Topeka Music Vacations, which organizes destination music holidays in Miramar Beach, Florida, such as Brandi Carlile's Mothership Weekend and Tedeschi Trucks Band's Sun, Sand and Soul. Combining the worlds of music festivals and vacation experiences offers its own unique set of advantages and challenges. But the one thing that shines through in this conversation is how much importance Anthony places on creating an incredible experience for Topeka's customers. We talk about some of the best practices for doing so and the fan loyalty it creates, the most impactful ways of marketing vacation experiences, the importance of community building, and much more. But we started by talking about the first show Anthony ever saw, featuring a band he would go on to work with many years later. I understand that the first show you ever saw was Kiss as a 7-year-old. What do you recollect of that evening?
Yeah, what's interesting is at that age, one, the fact that my parents took me was incredible, the Kiss being my first concert. But I remember so much. And there was a lot to take in, as you can imagine, for a Kiss show in 1978, 79. I mean, The smoke, the lights, the fire that Gene, blows out, the blood.
Yeah.
That tour, he would fly out up in the air. It was mesmerizing. And I remember thinking, am I totally scared or totally excited or some combination of the two? But I can certainly trace back to that night to sparking some kind of interest in wanting to play music, wanting to be around music. I didn't know exactly where my path would go, but I got in a garage band not long after and never really looked back. So I thank my parents for taking the leap to take my brother and I. We went to a bunch of concerts at that same venue after that. It was right outside of Tampa. Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, that whole era of when I was raised. So
your parents had great taste.
Yeah, no, I'm very blessed.
Well, of course, decades on, you get to work with Kiss multiple times, I imagine, through the Kiss Cruises and your involvement with them. Did that feel, A, like a full circle moment, and B, can you share just perhaps one sort of special memory of your actual experiences with the band?
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine, seeing that, I was at that show for my first concert at that age. I joined the Kiss Army, which was their fan club, and it was a very progressive fan club at the time. And then years and years later, I got to help create the Kiss Navy. I got to sail on 12 festivals at sea with Kiss, and had a hand along with the team to help curate the experience and to get to know Doc McGee, their manager, really well, and all the guys. The one story over those 12 years, which it bridges from when I was younger to when I was, later in age, getting to work with the band. Back when I was growing up, nobody had ever seen Kiss's face, the band members' faces.
Right.
It was a huge mystery, if you recall. And you'd see pictures in People magazine of them covering it, and they'd play scarves, but nobody had ever seen them. Everybody wanted to know what these four guys looked like. Yeah. So my parents gave me a Kiss action figure, a Kiss doll, for Christmas one year. And bear with me with this story, but so I got the doll. I was so excited. They were so excited to give it to me. I got the Gene Simmons one. My brother got the Peter Criss one. He's 2 years older than me. And I immediately take the doll out of the box. I run to the kitchen. Everybody has that junk drawer. I grabbed a quarter, and I scratched the paint off Gene's face on the doll with a 7-8-year-old logic, thinking, I'm going to get to see what Gene Simmons actually looks like, right? My parents were very happy with that because I'm sure they spent a lot of money on the doll. But So years later, fast forward to when I'm 42 years old or whatever, and I got to tell Gene that story. Thinking he'd be super intrigued by it, he pulls me aside and in that God of Thunder voice says, Diaz, I would never tell anybody that story publicly. So here I am to your audience, sharing what the God of Thunder told me not to share. But
I love that story. You mentioned the Kiss Army and the Kiss Navy, of course. They have such a rabid fan base, Kiss. What was the key to tapping into that audience when you were marketing those Kiss cruises?
Yeah, I gotta give them so much credit, and not everybody would see it, but the care and intention and appreciation that band has for what their fans want, what they need, to try and surprise and delight them, it's just off the charts. And you don't go 50 years with that level of success without having a true appreciation for your fans. So first, just seeing that up close, how involved they wanted to be to make those cruises a special experience. I think what I learned about that fan base and others is they want something when they're on a vacation with an artist that they can't get in the real world, that you can't get at a concert. And I think the band did a really good job of working with our team to create those experiences and then giving us that as content to market it in advance of the sailings. Paul Stanley loves cooking Italian food. This has nothing to do with rock and roll, but we would do cooking demonstrations. He'd make his pasta. Guests would sit up there and cook with him and taste his food. And then we would put his recipe in the buffet so the whole ship could enjoy it. Trying to really make it interactive and immersive about something that meant something to each guy. Gene Simmons can flick a pick across arena at laser accuracy. So we would do pick throwing contests, again, with the guest involved. So a lot of artist-fan interaction. And that just gave us incredible content to show the world, this is different, this is special, you need to be here. And that was really one of the best lessons from working with those guys.
Did that impact how you would perhaps advise future artists to run their cruise, or just ways that you ended up running some of the cruises that you were on?
Yeah, really learning the notion of tearing down the walls between the fans and the bands is a pillar of what gets me most excited in the work I get to do in this industry. It's a game changer. There's so many great opportunities to experience live music at a festival on land or concerts in clubs and sheds. It's a special experience. Live music, as you know, the work you've done, it just takes people to another place, whether it's nostalgia or inspiration. But if you can take it a step further and forge a connection between the artist and their fans more directly, and really the fans with each other, that's what I've learned to be, the most powerful. And that's why I've stayed in the vacation music sector, more so than the more transactional nature of maybe just a regular concert.
How long do you think, in terms of those vacation experiences, and you starting at Sixthman in 2011 as the CMO, how long into that journey do you think it took you to realize that was perhaps what was at the heart of these cruises, and this was what you were going to market?
Yeah, I got to give credit to Andy Levine, who's the founder of Sixthman and Topeka, where I am now. He and I go all the way back to being in a band together in college, and he booked the shows and I marketed the shows, which was very grassroots, as you can imagine at the time. But we both had a real intention to, let's add value to the venue, let's add value to the people we rented gear to, let's add value to the fans, and maybe we can grow as a band, because we didn't have great songs, but we had so much heart. He learned by managing the band Sister Hazel how important it was to super serve their fans. And they did an amazing job. And in 2001, Sister Hazel took 400 fans on a cruise ship and gave them an opportunity to connect. And I think that's when the light bulb went off for him and for the band, this notion of fans and bands together on vacation. Whatever vacation form that is, it's just something special. And that's been a pillar of the businesses he's built and the businesses that I've been able to be a part of.
So when you came on board, and correct me if I'm wrong, in 2011, I feel like that cruise/vacation/concert industry perhaps wasn't as well established as it is now. What were some of the key challenges you had to familiarize the public with this concept and entice them to buy tickets? And how did you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, at that time, and somewhat still today as it relates to just the cruise industry in general, I don't think people recognize just what a great vacation cruising is. Only about 10 or 15% of Americans cruise each year. So the initial obstacle was just getting awareness and the willingness for a fan to listen to the notion of cruising, just cruising.
Right.
Then you add that layer of fans and bands together on the ship, and that extra experience. Since it wasn't something that the public had a lot of awareness about, you really had to explain it. And what we've learned was to explain the right parts. It's not about a lineup, lockup, or graphic. It's showing the interaction of the artist and the fans. It's showing the beautiful destinations. It's showing those things that I mentioned that can't happen in the real world. That's when it started to cut through.
And how long into your journey was that? Like, was there an aha moment for you, or was it just a gradual thing leading on from that Sister Hazel cruise in 2001?
Yeah, no, I was on the second sailing that Sixthman ever did, and so what that would have been 2002. The light bulb, from what I hear from Andy and the Sister Hazel guys, who we're also really good friends with, it went 2 hours into that first one in 2001. It's like, wait a minute, something's different. And what they learned was, in 2001, it was a large group. They learned that you can charter a whole ship and take it for yourself, which really gives you an opportunity to curate the experience across multiple stages and do branding that fits the ethos of the event. That's really when I think the experience started to codify in something that was special, and it grew massively. The industry of festivals at sea grew significantly. Sixthman, which I just left maybe 17 days ago, grew to about 100 people, and we'll do 28 full festivals at sea in 2024, which is just incredible to see explosive growth.
Absolutely. That idea of having the whole ship and being able to curate the experience, I think probably really ties into that idea of personalizing the experience for the fans, really understanding what they want and curating that experience for them. When you were at Sixthman, like, how much did you know typically about your passengers before they got on the ship? Like, how much data did you have, and how would you use that to provide surprise and delight experiences, or just to really try and provide personalized experiences?
Yeah, I think it is an advantage of those of us in the music vacation space. You just inherently, you get a bit more data. At booking, we find out what band they're most active to see, or most likely to want to see, why they were booking. We could see how many times they sailed. We could find out how they heard out about the vacation, where they're from, age, gender, geo, past purchase behavior once on board, shore excursions, things like that. A tool that we did in my Sixthman environment and are doing as well in my Topeka environment is working with the artist to do a survey of the fans before the event is launched. And it's incredibly powerful to let the fans, who are ultimately going to be the ones who choose to go on this vacation, to tell you exactly what they want. And they will. When they want to go, who they want on the lineup, what kind of activities, you name it. And that data has been so powerful to then literally be able to curate the experience they just told you that they want to go on. And that's a tool that, you know, if an artist or an agent and a manager is open to it, to me it's the most compelling thing you can do if you're looking into the notion of creating your own, you know, music vacation on land, sand, or sea.
Yeah. Is there, not to put you on the spot, is there an example that you can think of where you saw that data and really used that literally to create an experience?
Every time. Every time an artist, agent, manager would say, yeah, I love the idea of the survey, you can't not act on that content. It's so granular, right? You can heat map. I want to see these bands on the lineup. This time of year is much better than that time of year. These are the food choices we'd love to see. These are the non-music experiences we'd love. And we would prompt them. We would give examples. And that way you could see exactly what's jumping off the page. And then we'd leave open boxes. The verbatims are incredible. And now with ChatGPT, you can take verbatims, put them in, and just have it analyzed and distilled in a much quicker way than, you know, we used to have to.
Yeah, okay. Last couple of things about Sixthman before we move on to Topeka. Sure. I just wanted to ask you, I guess when you think about a cruise, like, you have a very captive audience on a ship. They're not going anywhere for that amount of time that you have them. What strategies would you employ to encourage spending on food and beverage and merchandise, and to also market upcoming events?
I would always try and approach it to add value to earn their investment. Seek a version of a win-win. You know, staying with the theme of Kiss, since you mentioned that, one execution that we saw was a win-win in that it added value to the guest vacation experience. It generated onboard revenue. We put out branded Kiss cups, one of each member of the band, each of the 4 days. and it was in tandem with a brand partner, a tequila brand. And the tequila brand wanted sampling. And we came up with this way to say, well, we think there's going to be an appetite for these Kiss Kruise cups. And my God, Rod, there was a lot of consumption of cups in the tequila in the cups. Doing that, and the light bulb for me in that one was we weren't just asking them to try the tequila. We gave them something that we figured they'd want. A collectible,
right.
One each day. You can only get it on the ship. That's sort of the foundation of how I try and look at brand partnerships or ways to earn spend. We're not just wanting people to spend money. If we can spend money in a way that adds value to their vacation, they'll keep wanting to come back year after year after year and bring their friends and family.
We've spoken about music events on cruises, but of course, Sixthman goes across the board from sporting teams to comedians to music of all genres, serving all sorts of different fans and different demographics. And, using a couple of your executions as an example, you had a sporting team, the Tampa Bay Lightning, did a cruise with you. And you also had one of your music events, Keeping the Blues Alive. So using those two as examples, how would your marketing vary between the two to, a sports audience versus a music audience?
It's interesting. I've never been asked that question in that manner, and you make a great point. I think it's surprisingly similar in our marketing in that both are heroes. Joe Bonamassa is a hero and a flag carrier for keeping blues alive. So passionate fans of blues look up to Joe, they connect with Joe, and they want to be with him on vacation. I think the same goes for an ardent Tampa Bay Lightning hockey fan. I'm actually from Tampa, so that was a special project for me. They love the team. They love the players. They love the history. Both have an ongoing series of live events, whether it's lots of games or tours. Now, marketing-wise, an artist, you can, geographically target. The world is your palette. Joe Bonamassa has fans all over the globe, which is an opportunity, and it's also an obstacle because it's where do you zone in on, right?
Right.
With the Tampa Bay Lightning, we could put a circle exactly around where we were marking. That Tampa Bay DMA is where we knew the fans were. Now, sure, there's fans in New York and Ohio, but we didn't even try to zone in on reaching those fans. We knew let's hit the Tampa market, and then we'd do well. Now, I also think there's similarities in that if you look at a paid fan club of an artist, somebody who buys VIP tickets of an artist, that's a fan that's raised their hand and says, I really care. I hold a lot of passion. We had the opportunity to communicate to suite holders with the Tampa Bay Lightning project, which if you think that's a step above a casual fan who's just buying a ticket every now and then. If you're a suite holder, a club holder, or just an annual season ticket holder, you definitely have more passion. So being able to market to those audience, that kind of segmentation is really powerful. But I'd say there's more similarities than differences between the sports and the music at this point.
Yeah. You raised an interesting point about the geo-targeting. How far do people tend to travel for your, let's say, the music cruises, just because it is a worldwide audience? Do you find that they do cross over into different continents?
Yeah, what I've learned is it's a lot about where the pockets of the fans are. The band Train and 311 have huge fans in California. So we would see, an over-index of fans from California flying in. At Topeka, we're settled nicely right in the panhandle of Florida, just outside of Destin and Miramar Beach. And it's just such an easy drive market from Atlanta and New Orleans and Jacksonville and Tampa and all around the Southeast. So we're seeing a lot of fans just make a drive. Now, there's plenty of fans flying in as well, but the drive market adds because it saves the cost of flights. As far as music goes, it's really more where their fans are, not any other reason. And then the Tampa one is unique, right? The Tampa Bay Lightning, I'm sure if I showed you a scatter map, it's 85% people from Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, Sarasota, that region.
Got you. And you mentioned that you've very recently moved from Sixthman to Topeka Music Vacations, where you're the chief operating officer and partner. And I think a really key word in that name is vacations, as opposed to concerts, for example. How does that distinction, and I think you've covered this a little bit in what we've discussed, but how does that distinction between vacations and concerts determine how you market your events?
Yeah, I mean, just in taking a step back, the expectation of people in their vacations is significantly higher than buying a concert taking an Uber, going to dinner, and making it a night out. Americans are notoriously bad for taking vacations. So when they do, the expectations are really high that everything needs to be right. And we take that on. We're helping them with their accommodations, their festival passes, looking after them when they're on site. And we really look at it as if we're hosting them in our home, the venue, in our home. And we call them guests for a reason. Like, it's just something different when you're hosting a guest in your house. The way they're treated, the way they're invited, the way they're welcomed, and that level of service. I've been so blown away over the years by how the Sixthman team does it and how the Topeka team does it. They care and they serve others at a rate that it becomes part of the reason why people come back year after year. And I just don't see that when I go to a concert in town. I don't ever remember leaving the concert going, that usher was amazing. The person who served me my beer was just so gracious and, looking to surprise and delight me. It's just it's more transactional. And by inviting guests on vacation, we take on a bigger responsibility. But if you can deliver that above and beyond service, you earn, I think, greater loyalty. The artists earn it from their fans. Us as the team putting on the event and vacation earn the loyalty from the guests coming back year after year and bringing their friends. It's really powerful.
I mean, to that point, I think some time ago you posted on LinkedIn 7 pillars of that you try and adhere to for both your staff, but also for your guests. And they included things such as, well, I'll run through it: invite, inform, excite, welcome, look after, amaze, and appreciate. That's that journey you're talking about there, is it? It's from woe to go.
It is. Rod, to me, those 7 pillars can be some of the most powerful compass one can have for running any kind of business, in any personal relationship. I wish my wife would say that I invited, inform, excited, and welcome and amaze her as much as I try and do for our artists and for our guests. But that approach, which was designed for the guest experience, we've realized too, if you can apply that to the team member experience, when they join the organization, they truly feel invited and they're informed about their roles. You do things to excite them when they join and welcome them in a manner that maybe others don't. Amaze them with opportunities, appreciate them. That loyalty and passion to serve others rings true. So I've been so inspired by seeing how applying those 7 elements to the team is impactful as applying them to the guests and applying them to the artist. Our team is our marketing. Our guests are our marketing. Our artists really value the intention we put into looking after their fans. The biggest compliment that we can get is when a manager or agent calls and says, the Topeka team looks after our fans better than anybody ever has before. I mean, that's the compliment we're striving for. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of heart and a lot of hustle and that compass, right? It's a formula through the full year cycle and the full year relationship we have with a guest from when they book the vacation to when they actually show up in Miramar Beach.
After that experience, once you've had the experience and you've, I guess, accomplished those 7 pillars and you've given people the best, the time of their life, what have you learned about communicating with them post-event and continuing that experience post-event with a view, of course, to ultimately engendering loyalty, but also future purchases, future ticket sales?
Yeah, so we have a great discipline with post-event surveys. You can hear me say survey a lot, right? Pre-survey, post-survey, real-time survey.
Sure.
And the assumption is, why assume what a guest may want when if you ask them, they'll tell you that and so much more. We see about 60 to 70% of our guests post-event filling out a 20 to 35 question survey. It's incredible. And that data is then broken out amongst team members so that we can fully absorb it and then curate the experience for next year and do it very quickly. I've always subscribed to this notion of ask, listen, and act. Ask questions, listen, but truly listen, right? Don't already have the answer ready. Really listen to what you've asked and then act on it. And where I've stumbled is I've asked, I've listened, but not acted. or I've asked, but I wanted the answer to be what I wanted to be. But if you really have that discipline with guests and with artists, with your team, to just ask, listen, and act, that formula is incredibly powerful. And we make that a pillar of how we approach our pre-surveys, our pro-surveys. But even, not waiting till the end of the event. When you're with guests for 4 days, we can adjust in real time. I mean, unlike, again, a 20,000 person concert here in Atlanta where I live, there's just not a lot of pivoting going on in those 2 hours of the show. But with us, if we get feedback on day one that something needs to be changed for day two, we can. And there's mechanisms to communicate with the guest on site. And I think when they see you make those real-time adjustments, the loyalty and appreciation really starts to spike. Because everybody wants to be seen and heard and listened to and see their ideas in action. So that's another part of the philosophy and culture of the company is if we can pivot now, then let's do it now. Of course, we'll do the survey later, but if we can fix it now, let's fix it now.
Do you think that's unique to the vacation experience? Is there an opportunity for I guess, the concert industry, for promoters to do those sorts of surveys as well to the extent that you're able to?
I think so. I think we probably get a bigger uptake and response, to go back to what I said earlier, because this is their music vacation. They're more invested in it. We're vying for their vacation time. We're vying for their dollars, right? It's a premium vacation. Guests are spending $2,000 per person over a 4-day window on their accommodations, on their pass, on their food, their beverage, their merchandise. So we probably have a bit of a running start on seeking feedback because of the relationship we have. We also don't seek just to have a 4-day relationship at the vacation. We have a model that the vacation starts when you book. You're welcomed. Those pillars, you're invited in a Facebook group. We're connecting you with other guests. We're engaging you with content. So, we have a relationship with them for 12 months in an active group. And we're doing monthly newsletters with email, and we're doing Facebook Lives. We're really forging a relationship with the guests, which gives us an opportunity to glean insights that I just don't know. If I ask myself, if I went to see the Eagles at the arena, if you send me a survey, maybe I do a net promoter score survey, something real quick, like 0 to 10. I still don't know how much I would engage, right? Because as much as it was a great night out, it's not the vacation I'm looking forward to for the next 10 months.
Sure. You mentioned Facebook Lives. I'm curious about, in terms of social channels, when you're marketing this event through social channels, where do you find the Topeka audience? And I'm not sure. I'd love to know what the demographic is for the Topeka audience, but where are you finding they're most active on their socials in terms of how you can reach them?
Yeah, I think what's consistent is before the channel, if the host artist and headliner artist will invite the fan on vacation with them, it's just so powerful because it's different than anything that they tend to do with their fan base, like in a regular concert. So that's the first part, that creative, that invitation. And then we work with the agent and the manager to understand, where are their fans? Some might be heavy TikTok and Instagram. Some might be mature demos that still are very heavy Facebook. Some love SMS communication, some still love email communication. So we try not to templatize the market because fan bases are so different. And Noah Kahan, who we have coming up in a few months, his fans may be radically different than Tedeschi Trucks or Lauren Daigle, right? But that invitation is powerful. I think something that we have that really ignites awareness for us is the fan word of mouth. People love sharing about travel and they love sharing about music, and we sit right at the intersection of both. If you look at our feeds and socials, it's a lot of, and I left out food, so throw in food, in which we have great vendors and food trucks too. So we happen to sit very well poised for shareable content, and we try and create an experience that's so remarkable that they'll remark about it. So I think that really helps. And then we do the things that you'd expect. We try and do a lot of retargeting off fan sites. For us, we really need to find that fan who cares, a higher level of passion. It's not the casual fan, right? Mm-hmm. The casual fan will go to the concert. The more passionate fan will come to the vacation and then come back year after year after year. You know, the thing that's really been enlightening is the guest will come year one because of the artist and the artist lineup, and they come back year after year after year after year for each other. because of the friendships. That's that community piece that's so powerful. They're being connected and bonded in the in online world with the social groups, and then they get to finally meet in person at the vacation at the beach, and they have 4 days to connect. During the day they're chilling out, and they might do yoga together or go fishing together, or enjoy their day, and then by night they're under the moon. It's so inspiring to see them love each other. I had one guest tell me, Anthony, name a festival where the other guests are almost like a headliner. They want to come see each other. I never thought of it that way. Yeah. But it's so true. And the artists really appreciate that, because it's strengthening their fan community. And those are the fans that, when they're not at the beach with us, are going to shows, they're social sharing, they're buying VIP tickets, they're buying merch. They're the biggest ambassadors for artists. And I think artists are realizing owning that relationship with their fans is critically important. And we help foster that with these vacations.
And I have seen you refer to Topeka as being in the community building experience as opposed to the concert experience, which ties in what you were just saying then. In terms of the content you might generate from each of your events, how much do you then play on that in the content? Because clearly these vacations are more about just the artists. So are you really focusing on demonstrating that community building in the content that you roll out as an incentive for other people to come on board or to come onto your vacations?
It's a great question, and it's really difficult to articulate it to somebody who hasn't been yet. It's incredibly easy to articulate it in year 2 through 10 because they just come back year after year. Part of our commitment to community building is we have, I think it's almost about 35% of our company are team members that hold the job title community leaders. And their entire day is spent engaging the community with content. That content might be via email, SMS, in the Facebook groups. It might be Excite content. It might be educational content. It might be new news about the artist. It might be something great another guest is doing that they want to make sure everybody knows. So inside the groups, it's easier for it to gel and people to say, wow, this is different. Mm-hmm. This isn't a concert on a stage. This is a pilgrimage of people who are like-minded, who share interest and who want to connect with each other. And what brought them together was the notion of a genre, an artist, a festival brand. In year one, we really, in our marketing, just try and show those connections. A nighttime shot of an artist on our stage isn't going to excite anybody. It looks like a lot of art that you and I see in festival marketing. When we show people enjoying their beach day, we show them in their coves. We have a pretty unique model. I'm not sure if you've looked into it, but every guest has their own cove. Mm. And a cove is essentially a 2 or 4 or 6 or 8 person space, nice wood posts with nice ropes. It's your space, chairs. If you want to stand and dance, you stand and dance. If you want to chill for a little bit at one part and sit, you sit. But we see these relationships forming around the coves. So we show images of that in our marketing, because when you see that, it's like, wow, that's different. What is that? Sure. And really try and lean into articulating the experience in our ad creative. And we're trying to do better A/B testing, see what engages, what doesn't. We've got a long way to go in those areas, but I know we're on the right path.
With those coves, what was the inspiration for that?
Again, you'll hear me give so much credit to Andy Levine. That came out of COVID. He was one of the first festivals with the Moon Crush brand in Miramar Beach, Florida, to do an outdoor open air festival. Mm-hmm. But back then, if you recall, everybody was talking about 6 feet distancing. Right. So he created these coves. And what is an amazing insight from the surveys, from the Facebook groups, was that the people loved their coves. So even when the masks dropped and the 6 foot distancing dropped, the cove has remained a pillar of our model. And I get it. I've been to most of the Topeka events, and it's not just the cove. So on the post, there's a QR code, and with your phone, you order your food, your merchandise, your drinks, and it comes to you within 5 to 7 minutes. So the goal is to truly create this worry-free vacation experience where you got your own space, you have your food and your drinks and your merch brought right to you exactly when you want it. You don't have to get up. Air-conditioned bathrooms, a short walk away, because Our model is 3,500 to 5,500 people. These are still intimate spaces versus some of the big festivals that you and I both know that get to 50, 80, 100,000 people. We offer accommodations bundled with the festival passes, and they're all walkable. So you walk to the event. A lot of the accommodations come with golf carts if you want to do that as an add-on. So it's so fascinating, Rod, to see people pull up in their golf carts and just walk right into their cove. I mean, when I think about when I go to a concert now, the last three songs, I'm leaving because I don't want to deal with parking and I don't want to fight the Uber mess and I want to get home. And we really sort of wiped out the worry as it relates to you walk to the vacation, your items are brought to you, there's bathrooms and food at every stop that are definitely higher quality, beautiful stage, lights. It's really pioneered this notion of worry-free, high comfort music vacation, but one that caters to any fan base. Younger fan bases, mature fan bases. I just learned everybody loves the beach, and everybody loves being looked after.
That idea of the QR codes, I think, is really interesting. And clearly one of the benefits to that is the convenience and just giving the fans a better experience. But have you also found that it leads to more spending? Just that ease, that I can just buy merch with a flick of the QR code. I can just buy another drink with a flick of the QR code and it's going to come to me. Have you noticed a bump in revenue from that as well?
Yeah, I think twofold. One, when you offer guests something at the time of booking, we have these really nice coolers. Sometimes they're bundled in, sometimes they're not. There's a number of vacation makers, we call them, that you can do add-ons at the time of booking. And when you do that, you notice that they make the investment at the time of booking, and then when they get there, so much is paid for that they'll then spend even more, right?
Right.
But you nailed it too. I've been there as a guest at Topeka events, and with 2 clicks, my Miller Lights showed up. And with 2 more clicks, when it got a little chilly, my hoodie showed up. It's just hard not to just keep hitting the button. And the team delivers it with such grace. And if you ask for something different, they take immediate care, and they'll bring you ice for your coolers. It's just... the service, I think, also ignites people's willingness to just be in an environment to just truly enjoy it, truly escape, which helps us earn the right for them to probably spend more when they are with us over those 4 days. Yeah,
sure. And add-ons is really interesting as well, particularly at the checkout process, because, on the one hand, you want to make that checkout process as quick as possible, get people through the checkout, reduce cart abandonment. On the other hand, you've got these add-ons that you also want to let people know about. What's that balance? How do you strike that balance between making it really quick, but also letting people know that you can get this and you can get this, and they're not going to abandon cart because there's too much choice?
Yeah, it's a good point. We have a different approach than a traditional concert to the booking process. And to go back to the fact that this is a vacation, this isn't a transaction, there's lots of questions. And what's really interesting is a lot of the questions aren't truly things you would normally think that are ours to answer, but what's the average temperature? What else is there to do in Miramar Beach? Walk me through the condo versus the beach home. So what we do is we put a lot of intention into announcing the event and doing an aggressive push with our artist partners and with our own paid channels, our own earned paid channels, press, to really get as many signups as we can as possible. And then we take all of those signups and people are assigned a booking time. So in that booking time, they get white glove service. Our team is answering chats, calls, whatever questions they have about their cove, their condo, those add-ons. We're able to really walk them through it at a pace that feels right for the guest. And it's also so gratifying to see them go through the booking process. Then they'll drop in the group, the Facebook group for a specific, community or vacation, and hear them rave about the experience.
Right.
You gotta book this vacation. I just got off with Topeka Claire. She made it so easy. She answered every question. I've never been looked after so much in booking anything in my life, much less a music vacation. Those are those stories that are just shared over and over and over. But that booking process is different, right? That's over. We're in the middle of one right now with the Avett brothers, and booking started yesterday. They'll book through today and tomorrow, and then tomorrow at 2 p.m. we go public on sale. So it's a bit of a different process than some.
Just using that AVETS as an example, the pre-sale, which is underway right now, what have you found the most effective ways to really supercharge those pre-sales?
I'm sort of a broken record is if you can get the artist engaged, which they've been great.
Okay.
Most of our artist partners are great. Contesting offers something of real value that helps you with database growth, SMS growth, to bring people into the fold so that we can then communicate with them over the cycle of the vacation. Very powerful. With AVETS last Friday, we were able to announce their music vacation in tandem with the announce of their tour. So we had a lot of eyeballs on us because they had a lot more eyeballs on them.
Yeah.
And that was really, really effective. But then we've also done the opposite where we go outside of a tour announce because then the eyes are just only on our music vacation. So both can work, but those have been some of the best practices. A lot of discipline to try and garner as many signups as possible, lean on our owned, earned, and paid channels to do that in tandem with the artist, do some contesting, and then start the booking process. And then what happens is then the community becomes the marketing because they become the ambassadors. And That's the most powerful marketing. There's nothing our ads can say that's more powerful than a guest saying, I've been, it's amazing, you should go too,
Right. Well, it's interesting in terms of, you have people say for 3 or 4 days, if you know that, let's use Brandi Carlile's Mothership as an example. So if she's got you're in the middle of her 2023 festival, if you know there's going to be a 2024 festival, are you already promoting that during the 2023 to the people who are at that event?
The ideal scenario, and it doesn't always work out because it's not always within our control, but the ideal scenario is mid or towards the end of the current vacation. So let's just say the one for Brandi coming up in May of 2024, we're able to announce dates for the next one.
Right.
Because there's the halo of being in the moment and experiencing it and loving it and knowing we're coming back. You get to be with Brandi again. You get to be with the Bramley, as she calls it, her community. Yeah. And we won't come out with lineup necessarily always, but at some point we'll have bookings without lineup. We'll have a lineup guarantee offering sometimes, but getting it out as soon as possible at the event is ideal. And it does a couple things. It does what I mentioned about the excitement. It gives guests a year so that we can drop into their vacation cycle. It gives them the opportunity to smooth out payment plans, which we offer. So it's really the trifecta of a great, strong announce is if we can come out, with a good full year with people excited about what they just experienced.
Right. Okay. Customer experience we've spoken about a lot in this chat. It's clearly very important. How does the fact that all of your events are at the same location, the Seascape Golf Beach and Tennis Resort, how does that, do you think, aid the customer experience? Is that an advantage, always knowing that that's going to be the one spot, both from your point of view, but also from the customer point of view?
I do think it's an advantage on a couple fronts. For the guests who haven't come, it's just an incredibly beautiful destination. There's some of the most beautiful beaches in America. There's so much to do during the day. And the space we've carved out is just really engaging and comfortable. So they see those images and it's an attractive destination. For those who've been, the goal is just to really blow them away. And it's like, this is different. It's special. So they're coming back. For us as an organization, there's just inherent efficiencies. So on April 18th, coming up in a few months, we'll do 4 back-to-back weekends for 4 different music vacations. And that brings efficiencies in gear, in staffing, in vendors. It's just a model that works. It also gives us a chance to dig deeper into the local community, forge relationships, forge partnerships. We're having a real economic impact on the Miramar Beach, Destin area. Think about bringing 4,000 people in every weekend in a shoulder season where they might not normally be flocking into the beach, in April and May and October and November when we do our seasons. It really helps us earn value in support from the community, who then helps us with marketing, access to vendors, access to resources. So I think it's an advantage. I do see the vision for Topeka being where we have multiple destinations throughout the U.S. If there's other beautiful beach destinations with a green space for the site, with walkable condominiums and beach homes, and nobody has really carved that niche out and done so in a manner with that sort of unreasonable hospitality that we're trying to ingest into the guest and artist experience.
So I guess that idea of injecting money into the community, does the tourism board for that area become an ally?
Absolutely. There's relationships that Andy has formed with the county and the boards, and we think as we look towards our expansion, I mean, it's maybe not out of the question to think that communities would be vying for Moon Crush and Topeka to come in and bring these vacations. Not unlike Iron Man used to bring those events all throughout the country, you know, because they bring a lot of value to the community. I think that's part of our roadmap.
Okay. One thing, I remember speaking to a marketing executive some time ago, and he was recounting a lesson that he learned about ingress. They held a festival at the beach. One thing they didn't take into account was the fact that walking on sand is a little bit slower, and it ended up, I mean, it maybe just held people back by a minute each, just that extra effort of having to walk on the sand to get to the entry point. But when that was multiplied by 15 or 20,000 people, it led to, you know, significant ingress issues. Given that your events are sort of between 3,000 to 5,000 people, perhaps that isn't as big an issue. But are there certain things you've learned about ingress and egress at Topeka?
Yeah, you know, as I mentioned, the majority are walking in.
Yeah.
They're golf carting in. I mean, we have such an advantage of that comfort because the condominiums and beach homes that we offer as bundled accommodations are all within the area of the resort. So that's a huge advantage. Like you mentioned, we're 3,500 to 5,500. It's just such more of a huggable space and size for an event like we do. We're able to communicate with the guests as far as ingress and egress. You know, due to the size, stage announcements can be heard because, again, you're talking 3,500 to 5,500 people. Right. Our team, we bring pretty heavy staff counts of our team plus security, and make sure that it's seamless for guests to come in and come out. So, knock on wood, I think due to the nature of our model and the comforts of our model, it hasn't been an issue. But it's something that you make a great point. It's a first impression if you get it wrong, and it's a last impression if you get it wrong. So it's really important to bookend the night with a great walk in and a great walk out. You know, we've done fireworks on the way out and lights on the last song that are passed out to guests. God forbid it rains, we're passing ponchos out immediately. You know, so there's these three phrases that, you know, Andy instilled into the culture years ago that I've tried to use as a compass, and it plays into those little things I'm telling you. But if you're just committed to going above and beyond in everything you do, you know, with your service to an artist, with your service to the team, your service to the guest, it will be rewarded with loyalty. If you stumble and make a mistake, which we do every day in the office, on site, own it, hold yourself accountable to it, and make it right. And if you can go above and beyond in making it right, then you've actually gotten a better relationship with somebody who was first upset with you by the way you handled the misstep, right? Yeah. And then the last piece is hold the line. If something doesn't align with the values of the host artist, the headliner artist, of the needs of the guest, of the values and mission of the Topeka team, then have the confidence to hold the line and stand true to that. And I've been able to use that as a rock of, listen, in everything we're doing, we're going to go above and beyond. When we stumble, make it right, and hold the line on things that we know are character-defining items and issues and decisions that you need to hold the line. That's been a really helpful thing to grow the team, to grow the culture, and help us earn a lot of the artist and guest retention that we've been fortunate to earn.
Anthony, last couple of things. When you look towards the next 12 to 24 months, what are your predictions for, I guess, you know, the immersive events industry, this vacation industry?
I mean, obviously I'm in it, but I'm so bullish on it. I've been in this sector, if you would call vacations, you know, intersection of music for the last 12 years. And I think this wave of the experience economy was already starting to get a strong lift pre-COVID. And then I think when COVID shut us all down and made us realize that our lives could change like that, I've seen people prioritize experiences over things. I've seen them prioritizing sharing time with others that share their same passions, and live music and travel are the benefactors of that trend, and I don't see it letting up. Even when we've seen dips in the economy, people are prioritizing these experiences. Now, they'll give up something else. They'll give up maybe a different vacation, they'll give up that new watch, they'll give up dinners out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday maybe, but I've seen them prioritize these vacations. And, so when I think about what are the bets that we're placing in Topeka's future, one, it has to start with the team. I want to place the bet that if we can treat the team with the hospitality that we're seeking to treat the guest and artist with, we'll attract and develop and retain world-class team members. And that's the only way this works, is to have team members that can care so much that they look after the guest and the artist, that the business will grow. The bet on the guest would be that they value these vacations more than so many things. These are their favorite 4 days of their year. Mm-hmm. It's not easy to create that, but when you do, it's the favorite 4 days of the year, and they'll come back and bring others, which is the dream. And on the artist, the music business has changed so much that touring is vital for artists now, and owning a relationship with their fans is important. Not just building other festival brands, and codifying that relationship with their most passionate fans is incredibly important. And if an artist can do that in an environment that brings so many more comforts than the grit of the touring road brings them, they can make handsome financials on these events. They can connect with other artists, because all of the artists are there for 4 days mostly. So if you think about a festival, artist pulls in a bus, goes, plays their set, leaves in the bus. This is different. They're getting to hang. We put a lot of attention to the backstage area with their own bar and their own food trucks and their own hang areas, like I know other festivals do. But we hear people writing songs together. We hear stories about artists that they got to hang with that are now openers for their tours, joining their labels, joining their agent and management teams. Like it was something that we really didn't think that, wow, we're not just connecting the guest to guest, we're connecting the artist to artist. And it just raises the value of a music vacation with Topeka more than just a band saying, hey, we're playing a show this Saturday night. That's just not really what we're striving for. We're striving for something bigger and deeper.
You've mentioned a couple of times, I guess, Americans, they aren't great at taking vacations, and when they take a vacation, they really want this to be a great experience, which puts a lot of pressure on you, which I'm not telling you anything there, and obviously you cater for that. But perhaps earlier on in your career, were there mistakes or a mistake that you made which led to a learning beyond that idea of owning up to your mistakes? Was there just something that just went wrong, but you learned from it and it's never happened again?
What's fascinating in the live event space, which I know you talk to a lot of really bright people, is I'm always incredibly shocked by how every time I do a live event, a new problem arises that I hadn't had happen before. And I've been a part of like 120 of these in the last 10 years. And then day one, it's a new challenge. So what I tried to shift from is chasing what problems are going to happen and put an infrastructure in place on how to handle problems that are inevitably going to happen. So I think that was my insight. I used to try and think, okay, it's going to be weather, or the artist is going to get COVID, or the speakers are going to blow, like all these things. Well, maybe, but it might be that there's a strike on the pier and you can't get the gear on the ship. Didn't think of that.
Has that happened?
Yeah, it has. So really putting infrastructure on how a team handles challenges and curveballs when they arise, how we communicate with each other, how we communicate with the artist and the guest, so that you can minimize any friction when these problems come. On the marketing side, I think the thing that early on, and I'd still say somewhat today, is making the assumption that there's going to be a silver bullet marketing move, a lever that you can just pull that's going to move 300 coves, right? I haven't seen it. And there's always this thought that, well, this promotion or that email blast or this video that's going to play in between the headliner and the open at the tour is going to drive so much bookings. And what I've learned is it's discipline with creative, it's discipline with targeting, it's consistency, it's the team service, it's creating... Somebody said this to me the other day. I thought it was really applicable to what we're trying to do. If you try and chase a butterfly, they're really hard to capture, right? All over, chase. If you create a beautiful garden, they'll come settle. So we're really trying to create this garden of the experience at the beach where artist and guest will want to settle, so you're just not chasing. And I made lots of mistakes thinking, if we can just lock in this partner, this email, this radio, this da-da-da-da-da, we're going to move so many coves or cabins, and I just haven't seen it. it reminds me of the discipline you need to have of consistently rolling out smart campaigns, adjusting in real time, and listening and learning, asking, listening and learning, like I mentioned before.
Yeah, that's a good point. Very last question, Anthony. At the beginning, we spoke about your experiences with Kiss on the Kiss Cruises. When you think of just some of the mind-blowing things that you may have witnessed over the years in any of the events you've been involved in, or just something which was really special to you, does anything really stand out? Just one. I'm sure there are dozens.
No, I mean, obviously in this business, you've seen some crazy things because we're not just there for 2 hours. I'm usually with the guests and the artists for 4 to 5 days. And we've seen so many unique occurrences. I think for me, it's that my favorite moment of any events that I do or get to be a part of is there's this anticipation when they're walking in, and when they get settled and when they're with their people and they've got their favorite drink and the sun's coming down, that first strum of that first song of the hero and artist or act that they've been dying to see now for 10 to 11 months, that moment still gives me goosebumps. And I try and take a quick second to absorb it because, event management is very demanding and there's lots always going on and it can be a bit chaotic. But if I just take a quick moment and watch that, it always reminds me of why you do the late hours of events management and why you put so much heart and care and hustle into hopefully creating a great event for the artists and the guests. Like that moment I have yet to lose passion for. And I guess the day I lose passion in that one, I'll go off and do something new with my life. But I don't see it happening. It's incredibly special because it's just something that you only feel when that destination vacation element is a part of the music experience.
Sure. I did mean to ask, did that cruise where there was a strike and in terms of loading gear on, did that happen? Did it go ahead?
Yeah, we settled it and learned a lot about the labor community in that market, and everything ended up just fine, as it always does, right? The show always seems to, knock on wood, go on.
That's right. Well, Anthony, thank you so much for your time. It's been really great chatting with you.
You as well. Thank you very much for having me, and just congratulations on all you've built with the podcast. I've been enjoying listening to it. You're really doing a great thing for our industry, so thank you so much.